Hello and thank you for joining me on another devlog for MonasteryRL. So I had some time this morning and I wanted to sit down and dive into the combat book system, which is kind of the nickname that I'm giving the buff system in the game. Since we're not doing anything that involves like actually dropping equipment loot, this is my first idea of testing to see if having the monsters drop pages of something that you can pick up, equip into your holy codex, whatever you want to call it, and have it affect your stats that way. So let's jump in and see how it goes. Alright, so we ran into our first little bug here while getting everything, it's not really even a bug, while getting everything situated. So we got the combat pages in place. You can have X amount of them. It works as far as I can tell so far, but the thing I forgot to do while testing is, so if you see this unholy rough page, it's supposed to add 2 to our unholy resistance, but it's not actually calculating it there. And I was looking at the code, and it's because, so I'm a terrible programmer, so I apologize in advance. It's just looking at the first item in the combat book table. So I need to kind of sit down and hash out the easiest way to do this, which should obviously just be an if counter. That's just going to count through whatever's in here. And then we'll do for X in combat book, replace that with the counter. And we'll see how it turns out. Good morning. It is a little after 7 a.m. and I finished work on the combat book system, and we actually have it in place now where it does actually cycle through all the pages you have in your book and properly adds them to your resistances over here on the side, and it also makes sure it works in combat. So now that we have this done, it is time to move on to our next task. So last night I took a break from working on any sort of coding projects for the game while I kind of mulled over the idea of combining the 2 dungeons into one. And while I was working on that in my head on paper, I decided to sit down and learn how to create themes in Visual Studio Code. I was kind of tired with some of the themes I was seeing just generically out there, and I've been learning to use the default engine here, and I've been really enjoying the color scheme in it. So I'm like, well, why not get this done over in Visual Studio Code? So I spent my lunch at work yesterday learning how to do it. Then afterwards, I actually sat down and did it. And I would say, so this is Visual Studio Code, and this is the fold. I would say it actually turned out extremely, extremely well. Like when you make like the side-by-side comparisons, I think there's like 1 or 2 things. Like I need to fix the highlight color since this is blue in Visual Studio Code, and it's just kind of like brown, gray color here in the fold. But I think it turned out super well. It was a fun little project and a way to kind of get my mind off of the nitty-gritty in MonasteryRL. If you'd like to see a video on this, let me know and I can quickly throw something together. So that pretty much wraps up this week's devlog. We got the combat book system in place. I just need to wrap up the prefixes and suffixes on it so that way you have your randomized combat books and implement any other bonuses I want to apply with them. We also went on a little bit of a side quest, getting the Visual Studio Code theme in place of my own, so that way I'm not using any of the defaults. It was a good little project for me to get my head out of the game a bit and focus on something else. So this weekend is going to be a dive into whether I want to put everything into one level or keep them split into 2 as they are now, and kind of figure out what the best option or course of action is going to be for that. So I will see you guys all in the next video.